Hello, Horror Hound. I'm Hamilton. I'm here with Mike McGrainer and
Fritz the Night Owl.
The famous Fritz the Night Owl.
Well, I had my 15 minutes of fame thanks to Andy Warhol, and then Mike McGrainer got me back on television in 2010. I've been doing it from 74 to 91, 7 nights a week. Although most people know me as a horror host, although being on 7 nights a week, we had the music, the great MGM musicals and the classic films and the Robert De Niro and the Humphrey Bogart, and we had westerns and dramas and Frankie and Annette. But Friday they saved for chiller because my boss, a smart guy, figured out that the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders could stay up until, because I came out at 11:30 after they could stay up on Friday night at 11:30 and watch the double chiller, and if they fell asleep, so what? Yeah. They had nothing, no school Saturday
Being a child
morning.
of the 70s, I can vouch for this.
Yeah.
Now, you did get your start in radio, and then your introduction and evolution into the horror host was kind of an organic, almost accidental.
Quite accidental, right.
Would you like to tell us about that?
Well, the station had Night Owl Theater on the air just on weekends, and for the break, they would have a cartoon owl, cartoon in the sense of a still drawing of, say, Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse. And so they had this cartoon owl. Well, I'd been on radio in Columbus from 1959 until 74, and people knew my voice as Fritz. And so they started writing letters, and I started to instead of just saying, we'll be back to Alexander Hamilton and ride out for revenge after these words, it always bummed me out that the movie host announcing the movie, even if you didn't see him, never said anything that reminded you that he was watching the movie with you. So I just started to BS about the movies when they went to break, and people knew my voice from radio. They started writing letters to Fritz the Night Owl, although there was no such character at the station. But my boss, the late great John Haldy, program director, said, hey, we're getting so much mail and comment, let's create a live camera character. And between the art director, and I, they came up with these glasses right off the rack at Revco, Christian Dior, and then our art director put the horns on and did a little painting, and I went on the air as that. But see, in the Army, I had learned television. I was in the Army 57 through 59, making movies and television shows for the training films and the promotional films for the Army. And I learned a lot of the technical devices that were being used, and the only guys using television techniques at that time were Steve Allen and Ernie Kovacs. And so I just decided I'm going to learn all of this stuff. And then when they made me Fritz the Night Owl, I just said, okay, everything I say or you see is going to be related somehow to this movie. And because I knew these special effects, they would key me into a photograph or mix me in some way, and it just caught on. I mean, as I say, using the TV techniques, it was Ernie Kovacs, Steve Allen, and myself. Nobody else in the country was doing this.
And this stuff still stands up to this day. Like Ernie Kovacs, that intro with the monkey masks, I can still watch that, and it still is powerful.
And it was a thing that, because I'd been in radio, they had, the radio station I worked at was say what you want, play what you want, just hit this CBS News at the top of the hour. So if I wanted to play Miles Davis followed by Kate Smith, followed by Dean Martin, followed by Charlie Mingus, and I could pull it all together verbally, plus do the commercials and all of it, as far as they were concerned, that was great. And so I had all of that experience of just ad-libbing. And so when the muse was with me and then we'd go to break for Night Owl, I'd blah, blah, blah about the movie. And if the muse wasn't with me, I'd say, we'll be back to Ride Out for Revenge with Alexander Hamilton after these few words. But more of the time, the muse was with me, and so that's essentially was radio and television.
I do, in my mind, I want to see the Army training films with actual Fritz the Night Owl in the glasses doing the training.
They saw me in uniform. Because when I was in the service, they were going from the Eisenhower brown uniform, which I loved, to the new blue uniform, which we called the bus driver's uniform. But they had a lot of those films that they had to remake with the new uniform.
Do you have access to any of these films?
No,
then?
I wish I
That's
did.
unfortunate.
And
We've been
So
trying.
anybody out there can find these training films, please send them into Mike. Where should they?
Night Owl TV, NITEOWL TV at yahoo.com.
Somebody can find them. I trust you. We'll get
Yeah.
them for you.
Well, in the Army,
Yeah.
at Ohio State, I was a radio, TV, theater, English major. Got my BA in that, or BS, Bachelor of Science in it. And
I get my BS in a lot of things.
Yeah.
for it.
When I went to the Army, they had, at that time, they had a thing that was called Get Choice Not Chance.
Yeah.
That was, if the Army had a job similar to what you did in civilian life, you automatically got that.
Yes.
Well, I was a production assistant, and so they sent me to New York City, the old Paramount Studios, which they had leased to the Army at the start of World War II. And I mean to say it was like getting a master's and a PhD in radio, TV, filmmaking, theater, acting, everything. And had they guaranteed that I could have stayed at that base for another, I would have re-enlisted for 4 years. But they wouldn't they wouldn't guarantee you'd stay there, so I took my honorable discharge and headed back to civilian life.
So basically, you had no choice but continue doing what you were doing because you were just the perfect animal for it.
Yeah.
And that perfect animal was an owl, apparently.
Right. Well, as I say, that was just coincidence because they had said Night Owl Theater because it was on so late at night. And then, as I say, my voice was known from radio, and people just assumed that little cartoon owl was Fritz the Night Owl. And no audition, nothing. It was just bam, on the air. And
Then that, over time it evolved and you started doing
Right.
more of a traditional horror host thing? Or
no, we only did horror on Friday nights, and then the rest of the week could be anything. Betty Grable, Marilyn Monroe, Rory Calhoun, Humphrey Bogart, Robert De Niro, Paul Newman,
So the
Frankie
old-
and Annette.
So your old the Night Owl stuff was kind of whatever you wanted?
Yeah, except on Friday.
On Friday,
Was double chiller. I did it for 17 years, 7 nights a week, won 5 Emmys, so I must have been doing something right. And then they downsized. They got a new program director who downsized. His first words to me were, I want you to know I don't, not, this is before hello,
Right.
and I'm looking forward to working with you. His first words, I want you to know I don't like movies on television. Ding, so
Yeah.
you knew something was coming.
It's the setup for the comedy romp.
Yeah. I was replaced by infomercials. And then I worked for 2 low power stations, which, you had to disconnect your cable.
Yeah.
Very few people in Columbus could see those, but I did it 4 years. And then ended that in about 2002, and then in 2010, a DJ named the late Andy Man from CD 101, where I was working as a jazz disc jockey, and Mike McGrainer and Dino Tripodis of WNCI decided they wanted to do a bio documentary about me. And they came and I said, I don't want to do that. Who's going to be interested? I've been off the air 25 years. Who's going to care? Well, then we discovered that there were people on the internet, horror hosts doing movies. So Mike said, well, let's try doing Night Owl Theater like it was in 1975 and 76 with the commercials and movie host, commercials, more movie host, commercials, more. So we decided, and I turned it down 4 times. I said, no one's gonna want to see this. Maybe close relatives and friends like my granddaughters who have never seen me on television. So they finally convinced me to do it, and we went to the first thing, which was Night of the Living Dead. Theater was full, and I was just doing mea culpas to Mike and Dino for about a week or so afterwards.
So then you decided that these would be done as live presentations first and foremost?
Yeah, everything's pre-taped, but it was important to have Fritz there.
For opening night.
Yeah, for opening night when we run the episode. So he'll sign autographs and take pictures, but everything is pre-shot on screen, green screen effects.
You do the whole show, and then
Right.
you're just there kind of,
Yeah,
and almost doing a live commentary of yourself.
No, I'm in the lobby signing autographs and taking pictures and so forth. And the movie runs, and I may be in the movie watching it, but I don't interact with everything is on film at that point. And then afterwards we go out and we talk to the people and so forth like that. So now it's interesting, we do all of our stuff in front of a green screen, and Mike and I have discussed the effects, so I know mentally what they're going to be, but I never see the finished product until the audience does.
Which is super nerve-wracking for me.
Well, it's for me.
Well, yeah, it's like I can't imagine if he disagrees with something I did.
Since he does such a good job on all, it's like, damn, that is really true. You know, I see it's me. I say, gee, that really worked out well. And
Fritz doesn't whisper, so he's like, "That was excellent." It's like, shh.
Well, not in the end. But I'm surprised.
Right in the thing, everyone's just like, "Shh."
I'm surprised.
Yes, it's real.
I'm always surprised at just how well that they turn out infinitely better than I even imagined them, because the techniques.
So you still have no faith in this man?
Television, right? But I call him the owl sitter. He takes care of me and makes sure that everywhere I should be, reasonably sober, reasonably intelligent, intelligible, and handles all the business and scheduling.
So with this, like, a resurgence of success, you feel like it's time to retire and not do road shows for the rest of the country?
Oh, no. When people get the mistaken idea that I'm retiring, I'm not. We're just going to stop making new movies. We've got like about 70 some already fully made, but at 82, the work, the tape sessions and doing the idiot cards, because we have no teleprompter, so I write my own cue cards and do additional dialogue to the scripts that the people write, and but it's just, I'm running out of steam, so I'll show up at the live appearances and still meet the people.
So you're just stopping, and you're gonna, the previous work you have archived, you're going to release.
Rerun.
So
Yeah, the show is ending. It's just it's almost like he's going to continue to promote what we have at personal appearances and things, but we're not shooting anything new.
This is a big relief, because I think myself and everybody else was just like, we just don't want to see you go.
Well, it is also though the end of a.
No, I mean, I'll be here, but it's like you see a Boris Karloff picture, and Boris has been dead for X number of years, so he's with you, but he ain't with you. I'm on the screen, but I'm also out in the lobby or at the vendor's table, so I'm still doing it.
And the end of this year ends Fritz's commitment to the show in terms of, like, if we book a Horror Hound or any other convention, it's like it's me there with the show, promoting the show, screening the show, and he lets me know if he can come or not. It's pretty much no longer am I going to be like, you can't say no to this.
My traveling is limited to the state of Ohio, and I've told my girlfriend that, and I've told my family that, and I've told Mike that. If it's out of the state of Ohio, I ain't going.
And of course I'm like, but we can't grow in Ohio.
So for the first time, sorry, Alamo Draft House, you got nothing. But
we'll come there.
There will be exceptions.
Now you guys have something coming up with the Columbus Horror Hound. Would you like to elaborate on that? Who wants to take this one?
I got the call from Horror Hound. Is very near and dear to our hearts, because when we started this show, we didn't know it was going to go past 3 months, and here we are 7 years later. When I was shooting the documentary on Fritz, I interviewed Joe Bob Briggs because Fritz was on Joe Bob's show on the movie channel a couple times. And Joe Bob said, you have to get in touch with Horror Hound magazine. They know who you are. They have been trying to contact you. And Fritz was unreachable. To give you an example, our friend Michael Dougherty, who wrote and directed the movie Trick or Treat, and Krampus, and now he's doing Godzilla 2, he grew up watching Fritz in Columbus, and Michael's a huge Fritz fan. And what's funny is when Michael and I talked before we did Trick or Treat, he told me that the scene where Brian Cox is flipping through channels, like, Fritz was going to be one of those channels, and he couldn't find him. And of course I'm like, son of a bitch. so I'm like, well, I'm the guy, and you can get a hold of me now for Trick or Treat too. And it's just like, so people, knew he was, and Joe Bob hooked us up with Horror Hound. And we just never done. I had never personally even been to a horror convention. I love horror so much, but I just never got, I never paid attention to the circuit. And so we started doing Horror Hound in 2011 in Indy, and it just was that thing where it kind of
It kept asking us
yeah,
back, so we
it
figured
gave
we
a
must
new
be
life
doing
to the
right.
show, and
Something right.
And it's exciting to not have to, because I plan all of our movies and all of our breaks and all these things, and it's exciting to get a call from Horror Hound and say, we're reuniting the cast of this. Will you do this? And it's like, oh, an assignment. Like it's a challenge because
I don't know if you realize this, but Horror Hound are a bunch of nerds.
that's awesome. That's why we get along so well.
Not me though.
right.
No, I'm the coolest guy in town. I'm not a nerd at all.
No, I mean, just the handlebar mustache says that you are different. You're
But sometimes
you're not a nerd.
when we know who the Horror Hound guests are going to be, like for Reanimator, they told us that we made a special Reanimator for Horror Hound, and then we got to meet the Reanimator and Jeffrey Combs and
Stuart
his
Gordon.
roommate, Stuart Gordon, and I mean those guys are like the Dorian Grays of the 21st century. Combs looked like maybe 3 weeks had passed since he made Reanimator.
And I mean, Mick Garris, when we did Sleepwalkers for Horror Hound, Mick Garris to this day is a friend of mine. We talk every week, and that would not have happened had it not been for Horror Hound. And so I stay up to date, and Adrian King and Doug Bradley I have dinner with every 3 months, and it's this weird thing where, like, as a kid that's an 80s geek, I mean, this is truly amazing to bring back my childhood hero and then through that meet these people and become friends with these people.
I think the Horror Hound Convention has actually taken many people who were forgotten, and they've reanimated more careers. No.
Fun.
No, but they've reanimated more careers of these celebrities than Quentin Tarantino ever has. Like Tarantino's found these people in obscurity, brought them up again. But I've seen more people who've met at this convention who've gone on to do movies together.
It's a family.
And then I've watched
Absolutely.
people who just did one little thing, and now they are producing, directing, and doing substantial work.
Yeah.
And it's all because of meeting at places like this.
Well, for example, like if they're having stars, Horror Hound is having stars from a movie we made. Mike and I and Randy and Bittis will show up, and we'll have the booth and sign pictures and all of that, and they'll show the movie. But if they get like a group of stars, we haven't made the movie, and time is permitting, we'll make that movie. So I really haven't stopped making movies, but it's now only going to be on a special occasion. So
and that's the big thing about this retirement is the fact that, we say retirement, but it's the end of the show. So I figure it's like if I'm trying to think of a director because I don't want to compare us to any big director, but if like say Tarantino's done after 10 movies, he's still gonna like show up in interviews and talk about those 10
Well,
movies.
you can be the Who or the Rolling Stones.
Right, exactly. This is our farewell tour. Again.
Our final farewell.
But we're
tour.
definitely, like, the big thing that's important to me is when Fritz came to me and finally said, it's time, this is the last year. My heart sunk a little bit because in my mind it's like, we haven't done Die Hard, we haven't done Big Trouble in Little China, we haven't, just wanted to do everything. But, I mean, you can go all day on that, and I think that the beautiful thing about it is he came to me about, ending it. It's 7 years, it's kind of that cool 7-year kind of thing, and it feels like the right time. And the beautiful thing about it is now when we do a new episode for Horror Hound or just a special thing, we've shot the Star Wars trilogy. We shot 22 effects sequences with him that we can never show until those rights open back up. So it's just one of those things where, like, we planned out ahead to shoot the movies we wanted to shoot, so there are lost episodes.
No one will be deprived of anything.
Yeah, we'll still kind of show.
What do you have planned for the event at Horror Hound Columbus that you're doing?
At Horror Hound Columbus, we are, I believe, and I need to confirm this, but I believe that we're going to have some episodes showing at the film festival. I believe that you'll be able to catch the episodes in the hotel, on the TVs and things. But the big thing is we've been asked to do Black Christmas. So the goal is to do Black Christmas as an episode. I'm always like, yes, absolutely. We do have to end our show, and we're ending with E.T. as our finale. And so we may have to move E.T. to next year to fit Black Christmas in. But the beautiful thing, and this is a little, for people who watch this, a little spoiler, but fun, is that Black Christmas, with the unique movie it is, a few of those breaks could be Fritz making phone calls. So we don't necessarily have to be on camera as much as like, oh, he's creeping around the corner, that's him in the dark. And Black Christmas is a movie unlike something we've done. And so I love it when Horror Hound assigns us one, because it literally is, it feels like actual work, like we're going to now tackle this and we have to do this, and I love that feeling of it's a challenge. It's something that we...
And what are the dates at
November 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Now, do you guys have do you have a website that for people who are watching this now who want to access you from California or New York or Idaho or anywhere else?
We do. It's fritzlives.com, and then facebook.com/Night, N-I-T-E, Owl Theater, T-R-E.
And you guys do have some beautiful silkscreen posters I saw on your table. Can they buy those online too?
They can. Posters are available online. We have a brand new T-shirt that we're premiering exclusively at Horror Hound. That's the first time we're premiering it, and it's by Joel Robinson.
Oh.
So he has designed a Fritz shirt. It is amazing. It's Fritz
Does
in
it
front
glow
of
in the dark like that?
I think there'll be some accents that glow, but Fritz is like in front of a moon, and it's vintage Fritz, and it's really amazing. So we're going to launch that. You can pre-order it now at Fritz Lives, but the shirts are going to be shown for the first time in public at Horror Hound. So that's going to be our big item for that one.
Anything you looked at?
Not really. We do shows. We're in 5 cities in Ohio now, so we do Miamisburg and London and Columbus, and we're branching out into other cities. My goal personally is to continue this show with what we have, because all these episodes are new to somebody, and take it out west, take it and get it to spread out a bit, because the whole idea of this is that Fritz is timeless, and I think the younger crowd coming to see the shows, it's exciting because we have Fritz fans that have grown, they're bringing their kids, and they're starting a whole cycle over again. Some people are like, why aren't you guys just doing the old movies? And we're just like, well, our kids are now watching Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time, and now we're going to take that through, and if you look back on Fritz's entire career, you see this timeless thing, and for me as I just never thought I made a film, it premiered at Disneyland, and when I was at Disneyland, they said, what's your next project? And I just pulled this out of my ass. I said, I'm going to bring back my childhood hero, Fritz the Night Owl. Had no idea where he was, had no idea how to do it, and 7 years later, I have an Emmy for directing it, and it's amazing. I love this feeling.
How many movies do we have that we're going to be showing in rerun currently?
This will impress you. All right. Trick or Treat, Jaws, Blade Runner, The Shining, Halloween, Back to the Future, Gremlins, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Labyrinth, The Goonies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Lost Boys, Friday the 13th, Alien, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Little Shop of Horrors, Beetlejuice, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Ghostbusters, Reanimator, Jurassic Park, Wayne's World, The Blob, 1988 remake, Psycho, the original Psycho, Twilight Zone the movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, and The Warriors, From Dusk Till Dawn, the original Godzilla, Dawn of the Dead, E.T., and a few others. But that's in the monster.
So basically straight to video art house stuff.
Right, it's just little films that not many people. We have to expose these movies to a generation. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I should mention though that thanks to Mike and the reissue or the restart of the 21st Century Night Owl, I've picked up 2 Emmys out of how many
Out of
entries?
this version?
Out of about 6, yeah.
We've been eligible. There was 1 year we were nominated but didn't get it, and then the other 3 years, I won 1 year.
But I mean, it's like out of the 7 years we've been there, we've entered about 4 times, and I've won 2, and he's won 1. I must mention though, one of the big, exciting things in my day is there's one of these beautiful old 1940s, 50s theaters, palatial theaters like in the old days, that they've restored, called the Ohio Theater. It used to be Lowe's, Ohio. No, just the Columbus Historical Society and the what is the letters Kappa stand?
Kappa.
Performing arts.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
This guy.
I went to a Kappa program in my high school.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Well, they have every summer for years. They've been doing a classic summer movie series. Once every week, and I mean they've got the dynamite pictures. They've got From Here to Eternity, All About Eve, the MGM musicals, the
Tron.
Raging Bull, all of the great ones.
Yeah.
And they asked us to do them, and we went for 4 years where I just introduced the double feature that they had. And then this last year, they asked us to do a Night Owl version as part of their big summer series. So we did The Shining, and we had an intermission, whereas the other place they'd show one movie, intermission, second movie. We showed The Shining, and in all the years that they've been doing this, we had the second largest attendance.
Ever.
fantastic, yeah.
Got
We
beat
had-
out
yeah.
only by Princess Bride.
We had 1,518 people show up for that show, and I have never in my life screened night out to that many people at once. And it
Well,
was
me-
just we pulled up, and there were people down the street, and Fritz is like, "That can't be for us." And so we pulled up, and we go in, and we set up, and they open the doors, and it's weird because when all those people are coming in, it doesn't look like a lot because you're just like you're talking to And once it filled up, there was a line to meet him that was out the door and down the alley, and I'm just like,
Dude, you get groupies.
Do they know we
with
do a
glasses
sh-
on? You get groupies wearing the glasses.
There's one guy who dressed up, he cosplayed as Fritz. I mean, he had everything, the vest, the hat. And these people were lined up and down the block, and we're like, do these people know we do a show every 2 weeks in this city? It's sort of like, where are...
Well, I think
yeah.
maybe some paper masks are in order for the.
Well,
that'd be awesome. I guess.
Maybe
you know what?
Horror Hounds wants to do that. Make some paper masks.
I'll give Whorehound an exclusive right now. I just looked at, when I say prototype, we don't know for sure, but I just looked at a prototype for the Fritz figure. So that we've been working on for like about 5 years.
I don't think anybody who goes to Horror Hound would be interested in toys.
Right.
I don't think
You know?
these people like toys.
But we're looking at a 6-inch figure with a base, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, no, I should say, Channel 10 did try to get a copy of the Night Owl glasses, and the cost was just prohibitive.
Well,
So-
even just a nice little paper version.
Well, the paper version is you've got to have a special cut
Yeah.
of the paper, and that's what made it. And then, of course, the cellophane in there, and it just was too costly and too complicated to do.
I'll tell you what, though, there's people that are searching for your Army training films. If
They'll
any of
never
them want to
find it.
reach us about making those replica glasses, I'll be all ears. So.
Well, you can't even get these off the rack at CVS, or these
Just
are
raid
as I say,
Elton
right
John's
off-
wardrobe in the 70s. That's
Okay.
all we got.
Well, Elton John was one of the influences to why our station artists decided to present the live owl
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the glasses like this.
All right. Well, Mike and Fritz, I want to thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Fritz the Owl.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I'm so happy that I was able to do this interview.
As Terry Garr said in Young Frankenstein, the feeling is mucho.
All right. Mike, Fritz, thank you.